Hi, Flo Day. Yeah, I might be prolific tonight because I'm just home alone while everybody else is out at the Thanksgiving dinner. But I'm gonna make two videos. So the other one's gonna have the stuff about the meta, about the communication. But to me, what really is the issue here is just a basic perspective. The framing of things is important. So how do you look at it when it's neutral, when it's just a skeleton? What's the shape of it? It's like the Ayn Rand way is it's a bunch of moochers and producers and these kinds of simple categories. And you can fill that up with good people, and they're still going to be moochers. They're going to be interpreted. The system's going to turn them out that way. That's the way it's going to be interpreted. And if everybody interprets the system that way, people will even adopt those rules. They'll think, oh, geez, well, sadly, but that's the one that fits me. Or maybe not even sadly. So the framing is really important, and I see your reaction, including subsequently as you've clarified your point in reaction to what I was actually asking, that you see this incentive and punishment kind of a system as somehow proper. And we've been through that before. You don't think the system needs a change, and this is exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. That we have a system of moral judgment, and we'll get together and incentivize this or that or not and the other. It's like wanting population control laws when it's shown that if you raise the standard of living, people choose to have less children. So obviously, we should be working on changing the standard of living if we want any kind of natural population control. That's just the way that it goes. Right. So, in other words, it's a biological metaphor where, to make the body healthy, the first thing you do is make sure there are nutrients and that they get distributed to all the places that can make use of them. That's what we need to do. You don't punish the blood for going to the wrong place. You build arteries that go to those places, right? And then you pump nutrients through to them. So in the social situation, I think you're the one that brought up these things about as far as being over the head or not being over the head with bringing in the fact that it's not just people that blew their nest egg in Las Vegas that are in this situation, but I think a more important and very widespread use of it is people that had their retirement from their hard work in their company. Their company goes belly up because of a crime, and then they're in that situation. How bad should someone like that have it? That's the question. I say, how bad should some gambling, leech have it? Well, yeah, it's going to be pretty low if that's supposed to be the average. As a social practice, we should take the statistics on that, right, and find some mean or median that or a mode or where there's spikes in the distribution or right below or right above or who knows, well, hopefully right below, and we would make those as practical decisions. But really, I was very specific people that work. Now I'm going to make a video about jobs, how I think the social services should work uh, for people throughout life. um, But you, to me, seem to be taking this very traditional approach that I think leads to an unhealthy result in reality, and the system that's meant to solve the problem actually contributes to its chronic nature. In other words, the problem is in the design, as I said before. So I just want to say, somebody works their whole life. If they get a nest egg, then that's for them to gamble. That's legal. The kind of malfeasance we're seeing at companies a lot lately, that's not legal. That doesn't mean it's not part of the progress or conversation. We're supposed to assume that people are behaving legally. No, I don't. I believe in social systems that assume that people will be behaving illegally. And it makes a difference, because yeah, robbery's still just going to be illegal in whichever system. But when we're talking about collecting and making it legal to have some sort of a safety net, And suddenly, that whether it's legal or on which side it is it considered mooching, is it considered not, so not just legally legal, but moral and ethical, and these kinds of assumptions and projections we put onto these things. Suddenly, it seems like a big question to decide where the consensus as well as the legal lines are in that. But that's where the matter of perspective comes in. I'm talking about, if there's something I want to assume, it's like people make a contribution in their life, and I'm willing to assume that now in America, where we're talking about Social Security for retired people. Um, it may or may not be true. We can deal with that. But once they get to that age, it's not going to happen. They're not going to go back in time and learn some lesson. So I just assume that is either the case, and then because hypothetically you're going to say the system was screwed up if it wasn't the case, sort of a grandfathered all those mistakes of society and individuals. And frankly, the conservative side of this is that I don't want to just keep, I don't want to let crazy gas prices and all this kind of stuff cause us to just have to track. It isn't, I don't think it is affordable to have a Social Security kind of amount of money track the main economy. I'd much rather say, look, okay, they're getting $800 a month. We go back to in time with the price index to when that was a reasonable amount of money, when that was like getting $35,000 a month. I don't know how much it costs to live in various places over there, but something more, average. And then we have a commissary where we can fix the prices. Yeah, we'd have to subsidize the prices, but see, we'd have extra controls. Instead of just how much money we give them with the prices controlled by somebody else, we would control them. And there's a lot of government supplies. Like I looked up those pens, they're 50 cents each. And their specification, they've been the same for 50 years, and they're made by blind people. Okay, and they make these pens for all of the whole government. They have hundreds and hundreds of products now. You can't buy them unless you work for a government. And there's a lot of things, all office supplies and stuff like that. It's not even fixed, it's just super cheap, and because it's naturally set to the cost of manufacturing them, without marketing, without all the things that I want to see in an economy. Some products that, how much do they cost to make without marketing? Without shelf space here making such a big difference over there. With flashy boxes and big plastic bullshit around just a couple pens you want. And these pens, they have some specifications. They have to have a mile worth of ink in them, and they can only, if you were to draw long lines, there's only supposed to be a minimum number of ink drops along it. And they have to be able to bleach it twice with the chemical bleach and have the ink not totally be gone, and things like this. And yet they're cheap, 50 cents each. Cheaper than that, actually. I'm rounding up. So these kinds of things won't even have to be subsidized. Foodstuffs, milk, things like that. Yeah, but you could approach it the same way. The reason that these things are so cheap is because in, I think it was 1936, there was a government act in the U.S. that said we had to buy these materials from this organization, and they started making mops and brooms and things, and they make tons of office supplies, and there's some furniture and all kinds of stuff now. And the government can control costs of anything that in the commissary starts to become too expensive. See, you're subsidizing on that side, but you're not screwing with how much money people get to try to solve a price that's gone out of whack. You merely start manufacturing it at cost through this kind of mechanism where there's a market. There's no marketing is necessary, and you just have to make it available. So you could attack that as a price problem, and you could either incentivize cost cutting in the private industry, or just make your own factory if it's something that doesn't need to go so expensive. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of perspective, and that's really what I'm objecting to. And I think we need a different one. You know, and this goes back to our disagreements about the system.